Hello, my kinky friends. It's Midnight, reporting from my personal dungeon. I've taken some personal time off there, and I'm coming back now, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update of what's been going on. I know I made a brief statement there and just kind of did a general push it on it there, but I wanted to take some time to go over a little bit of what has happened, where we're going from here, and what you can be expecting from us. So, of course, the big sad news is that the lair is closed. It's no longer open. We have no plans to open a new one anytime soon. This has been long drawn out. It's been closed for a couple months. The process really was about 3 or 4 months in the making. A lot of attempts to try to see if we could salvage the situation, but unfortunately it was just the best and hard decision to close down the lair. To give you a little bit of a snapshot of what happened, so we had been having some issues with our new property managers for a little bit there. There was a lot of talks about renegotiating our contracts, about trying to raise the rent. We were just talking back and forth a little bit on that. And I was bringing up issues about maintenance concerns, leaks that were going on in the building, and small things that I was trying to make sure didn't escalate and make sure to compromise anyone's safety. But apparently, they did not think it was an issue. I would provide documentation, video, photo, and still they'd be like, oh, there's nothing here, there's nothing for us to do. We're not going to bother calling in a plumber. So that was one of the issues. Big one was they had moved in a new tenant into the building that was doing a smash room. I know the business owner, he's a great guy. It was actually really exciting to kind of have them being in the same building as us because we had a lot of crossover. But there's the obvious issue of having a rage room, or as I like to call it, the smash room, next to a room where people also go to smash. Talked to the property manager, brought up the concerns. They said, okay, yeah, there's not going to be any issue. We're going to make sure that, there's not going to be any disruption. We don't want to interrupt your business or anything like that. And that pretty much turned out to be a complete lie. There was no soundproofing put between our walls. Items were getting thrown in. It was literally the only wall connecting us to the rage room was the room where everyone was throwing their discarded stuff after we were done smashing it. So you would have a ton of noise. You would literally have that wall vibrating from the multiple impacts that were going on in there. You could just imagine problems that we had with that. BDSM parties, the new swinger parties we had set up, orgies, private rentals, even Dungeons and Dragons were all being disrupted by this. They were operating Thursday to Sunday, which was also pretty much the same days we were operating for a lot of our events. Our quality was deteriorating, maintenance wasn't being taken care of. We now had to share our washrooms with them, and they weren't cleaning their washrooms, so that was obviously a health and safety issue as well. And just all this was like compounding, and we kept trying to find different solutions or ways that we could try to preserve our own unit so that we didn't have to close down. But then they basically delivered the final nail in the coffin, and I got served that our rent was effectively doubling in 3 weeks. And right now I was losing about 80% of my potential business because I couldn't operate most of the time there without having, the walls vibrating. That's not good if someone's trying to have an intimate moment. People are trying to connect. If they're nervous, the sex parties we were just starting up, everyone was really nervous, and then just suddenly hearing something flying against the wall, and it wasn't really establishing the mindset that we were looking for, and the safety that we've been creating in that space for years. When I got that news, I had to make the heavy decision to close the lair. It was a very emotional time. I negotiated a few more weeks so we could try to get everything out. The whole process was emotional. The move, the final moments, just taking pictures, trying to remember what we had, what we were losing. At the same time, having to make sure we preserve everything we can. We got most of our stuff into storage. And yeah, it hit hard, It wasn't just a business space. We got it early on into COVID. We used it as the podcast. We used it as a hub for our community so that we could stay together during that trying time. First permanent space that we had. People were coming around. It was being used. We were educating people. We were introducing so many new people into the lifestyle. Great to be able to have a place where we didn't have to be concerned because we were at like a restaurant or a munch or something like that. We really could just be who we are, a safe space. and we lost that. It's been something. Thankfully now I'm ready to move forward into the next chapter and of course take you along with me. But what are we looking at to be happening? I know a lot of people were asking me about the big events, the Expo, Midnight at Dawn, the Midnight Cabaret, and we're going to be looking at bringing those back into 2026. I was hoping to bring back at least the Cabaret this year in the fall. Obviously we're in the fall now. And you could just imagine with having to shut down the lair, taking some personal time off, trying to deal with that whole transition, all the resources required for that. There was just no way I was able to juggle both of those at the same time. But we're scouting new locations. We've got more venues that are interested in hosting us. We're continuing to look at more performers. So we're going to have lots for you there. We are also changing the style of the expo to try to make it a little bit easier, not requiring the full year to be able to get it up and running. Of course, when we get closer to that, I'll be releasing more details as we sort everything out. And we're actually looking forward to being able to have some of these big parties again and seeing you all soon. But what about for now? What are we doing for the remainder of 2025? Big part is now without the lair, we're creating the online space here. I'll be much more active on my YouTube channel, more on social media there, sharing updates, insights, education, really working to see what content you, the community, are interested in seeing. Some other big things we had just while we were closing there, we had started our workshops. We had partnered up with Chisholm Weirdos. We were there at other events. It was really great to be doing some integration with other communities. It was a huge success. The workshop sold out. We had a lot of people interested in the lifestyle there. So we are going to be continuing to host those workshops at a few different locations. We're going to be looking at expanding. We have the one so far, the Shibari 101. We're going to be looking at adding sensation play and impact play, hopefully within this year, along with some other seminars, and we're figuring out what are going to be some of the best topics to be discussing on those. On the other end, we are going to be releasing some new products. We had started doing that with the workshops, where we understood that in a lot of our demos, people would come in, they would be interested, they'd be excited, then they would go home, they didn't have the equipment there or anything to kind of get started, and then things would fizzle out because they couldn't continue. We weren't able to provide that support for them once they left. That's something I've been thinking about for a while and wanting to find a way to help bridge that gap. And part of that is we are going to be releasing products, some introductory items that we'll be making there to be able to help get people started in the lifestyle. We have so many amazing vendors that are great at covering the aesthetics of the lifestyle, a lot of the dedicated lifestyles, being able to get them all that fancy equipment that makes things so much fun. But there's not a whole lot in terms of how people are getting started. That's providing quality products that are also accessible and affordable. So we have built already some of them, and we'll be releasing more information on that once we get it live on our website. And then we're also going to be doing a premium members area. We're going to be creating basically a platform where we don't have to worry about any sort of censorship of what we're saying, and then being able to make sure that the education that people are getting at our workshops, demos, seminars can be centralized, and we're able to make sure that we can provide that continuing education. A big thing for what this next stage is being able to not just create a space for the lifestyle, for the community, but be able to create a platform where we can continue to support the community when they're not at events, when they're at home, when they're trying to learn, to be able to make sure that we form those habits that become the lifestyle, and removing a lot of those barriers for people. And that's going to be very important for, well, yeah, you hear it all the time, you know what to do. Leave a comment below, hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. We really do want to hear from you. I want to know what it is that you want to know. What do you want to learn? What do you want to talk about? What are the updates? What matters to you? And I can make sure then that whenever I'm posting things that are going to be very useful for you, that's actually driven for the community, instead of trying to make the community fit into whatever it is that I want to talk about. And to wrap that up, I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out, everyone who had an amazing story, tried something new, learned something, shared, laughed, cried, and so much more. I'm really thankful to you all for the help, the volunteers. We had something special, and I'm never going to forget that. And yeah, so I will be continuing to make some more content. You're going to see some polls coming out. We're going to be asking of your opinions about what it is that we should be making next. And I'll see you next time. Take care.